Boom. What's up, fam? Anthony Dream Johnson here today with a special episode of the Redman Group, episode 146. Here today on Redman Group in 21 Studios. Today's special guest to the show is the one and only JP Sears from Awaken with JP. You probably know him from YouTube and his hysterical videos that you've seen over the many years. Awaken with JP. He's got almost 2 million followers just on YouTube, millions more on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. He's been called the most woke man on the internet with good reason. He's extremely woke as fuck. To an incredible degree. His videos I've been a personal fan of for a couple of years, and I was introduced to him recently through Elliot Hulse. Big thanks to him for this. So without further ado, please have a welcome to the show, Mr. JP Sears. How you doing, man?
Anthony, I'm good. I appreciate you asking, and I'm happy to be on here with you, brother, and so appreciative of the movement that you're helping move. So I'm grateful to be a part of that today.
Yeah, so you actually got to see the Make Women Great Again movement I got going last year. Let's start off with that. You know, you saw the trailer for that, some of the newsreels and the commentary on that. What was your first response to that, your first reaction to Make Women Great Again?
It's a great question. I don't remember watching it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Just please don't take that personally. I think my eyes see too much stuff, and it's been a little bit of time.
Yeah. So on that note, let's get into your channel a little bit, actually. This is a big channel, man. I've been watching this for years, and I did want to ask you, because it wasn't always like the satire. You're a comedian these days, but you started off as a more serious life coach. Yeah. Talk to me about that, your transition, your trans moment in life there with that.
Yeah, so I'm trans serious. I used to be serious. Now I guess I'm not. But yeah, so I've been making comedy videos for 7 years, give or take.
Okay.
For that, as you mentioned, I was a life coach. So working with people one-on-one and teaching workshops, retreats, things like that in a very sincere way. And that transition, back up a little bit, but right before the transition, before I start realizing who I really am, you know, I was in a phase of self-betrayal where having an active sense of humor, a well-developed sense of humor, that's something that's always been there in my personal life. But in my professional life, I was suppressing it. I was constipating it. I was not being true to myself. And I wasn't brave enough to just be an actual man and be all that I am. I made up a story in my head, drank my beta juice for the day back when I was a kid or whatever. And the story I made up in my head that I believed is I need to be serious in order to be a life coach, in order to be valuable.
To be successful and be an entrepreneur and all that, yeah?
Absolutely. So I worse than making up that story is I believe the story. Nobody did it to me. I did it to myself. But then my transition period, I kept having an idea come to me to make one comedy video. And it was, trying to convey a very real concept just through the language of humor. And I'm like, man, I don't know how to make comedy videos, but like even if I did, like making a comedy video, they'll discredit me as a life coach and probably wouldn't even be funny. And even worse than that is maybe it would be funny and then I'd be discredited more. But, when you've got a force of nature coming through you, you can resist it for a while, but nature is going to win. And I think part of nature is one's creativity. So I'd been constipating it for a long time, but just like if a woman's giving birth, she can try not to for a while, but baby's coming. So my baby came. I made the comedy video. Think, all right, well, make one. It probably won't be good for business, but I'll just make one. And I made that, and it woke something up inside of me.
Did it take off too? Did it go viral right away or no?
Yeah, the first one actually did, which is just like, what are the odds? Not very good. It was on YouTube for about a week, got a few hundred views, which actually to me, that was viral at the time.
Yeah.
But then it really went viral. Someone literally stole it off my YouTube channel, uploaded it all over Facebook, and then various other pages put it on their Facebook, and there it was getting like millions of views. But so that was external validation that was meaningful to me at the time. And more importantly, is it woke something up inside of me, which was me waking up to like a part of me that was ready to arrive.
The blockage, the constipation that was there was going away.
Absolutely. And then just fast forwarding, I made that one video, and then like 3 weeks later, I had this like amazing idea. Like maybe I could make another video. And then with no plan where it's going to go, or no plan for it to become anything big or a business, or like, let's really reach the world and help better the world through this mechanism. I just kept going one step at a time, no idea where I was going to go, but doing my best to follow my heart as I went along.
Yeah, it's worked out pretty well for you, man. I'm looking at a gold YouTube button behind you there. That's a very nice
Well,
big button. It's bigger than my button.
I'm surprised you noticed, Anthony, given that I centered that right on the screen. So
Yeah, right on your shoulder. Yeah.
I'm kind of embarrassed that you saw what I was trying to rub your face in.
I have my little silver one over here. I got two of them actually. So,
All right.
I only have
Right
one
on.
channel, but I told them I broke it because I dropped it one day. So they sent me a new one. It didn't break, but it almost did because it's the old glass one. I was like, I need a backup in case I do break it.
Yeah, I had one of those old glass ones too, and man, I
Yeah.
think you're better off now because I make them better now.
Yeah. So you mentioned you were constipated. Let's back up here. Is this like an emotional constipation, a spiritual constipation that you had? Like, I know you're kind of teasing, but kind of not. There's probably something behind that. Can you just talk about that a little more?
Yeah, I think both spiritual and emotional. So, we know what normal constipation is. Like, you need to poop, something needs to come out of you, something needs to be expressed through you, but it's not able to. So at an emotional kind of spiritual constipation, that is our true self wanting to express itself through us, and nobody can constipate us that level other than us. So like, what constricts one's anal sphincter? And I know for me, it was the fear of losing approval. It was having this fictitious idea about who I'm supposed to be in life, which had no correlation to who I actually am or who I'm meant to be. But it was just an idea I had in my head. So it's this weird scenario, it takes hindsight to see it, but in hindsight, I can see like, oh yeah, I was not letting myself be my true self. I was constipating myself in order to be who I thought I was supposed to be. And I think a life lesson I've got, I don't think it applies to just, it's a bit universal, but one of our biggest obstacles in life is who we think we're supposed to be becomes a chief obstacle for us being something far greater than that, which is who we really are.
And you're saying that the vibe I'm getting too is that is constructed by the people around you, culture, society, stuff like that, even family and friends to an extent, right?
Yeah.
Social pressures to mold you.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm all about self-responsibility. So, at the end of the day, me and hopefully everybody else could say like, that's my fault. That's my perception of everybody's expectations around me. I'm the one that recorded it. And yeah, they might have been strong expectations and pressures, but ultimately that's on us. So
because you accepted their perception, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're only human. I'm not going to shame myself or anybody else. I mean, especially when we're young, we're so suggestible.
Yeah.
But absolutely, that comes from everybody around us who we're supposed to be. And, one of the things that I so love about your work, which is, how I would encapsulate your work, Anthony, in a word, is you teach people to be strong.
Yeah.
In all senses of the term. Now, I didn't have that. Like what I like as a teenager, and then early adulthood, I remember thinking like, as a man, I'm supposed to be sensitive, and just through, I don't know, is it cultural Marxism, or is it just reading too much spirituality and not rolling in the mud enough, not doing enough jujitsu? But I had in my head like, man, men that are like tough and like they can scream, they can get pissed off, they can be fierce. I had in my head like, that's toxic masculinity. I mean, honestly, your hat says it all.
Yeah.
I had that in my head, and I'm like, well, a real man is one who can be vulnerable, who can be sensitive, and now I can look at that and say, a real man is one who can be vulnerable and sensitive, and a real man is someone who can be fierce like a lion too. A real
Yeah.
man isn't just one side of that polarity. A real man has access to both of those resources.
Yeah.
So as I had it with my programming that I had about who I'm supposed to be, I thought to be a real man, like I was running programming that was like encrypted with like, here's how to not be a real man. But that's
Yeah.
what I thought I was supposed to be a real man.
Yeah, I would say a lot of it's cultural Marxism and feminism and stuff, especially like a super hyper radical feminism that's been around for the past 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very confusing to men and women both, right? It teaches men to act like women, women to act like men. I do agree with what you're saying though, that men need to be able to tap into both. Like you should be this super strong, as strong as you can be within yourself, right? But also you should be emotionally connected to like what you're feeling rather than just blocking all of it like this huge constipation. And some guys do struggle with that, right? They lean too far on this cartoonized toxic masculinity. I love it, but I'm also not emotionally. I try not to be emotionally constipated. You know,
Yeah.
if I do, I'm like, you know, just take a whole bottle of red pills. You know, so when I look at your channel, dude, you have so many videos that are so savage and so many topics. I'm like, this dude didn't just take the red pill; he took the whole bottle. Like you just like,
Thank you for
like
thinking
this,
so.
the whole fucking thing. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, well, I'm honored by that, and I'll something I want to share about that. If someone's been following my work for over 2 years, you know that about a year and a half ago, my work took a massive shift. I would call it an expansion where the mission completely changed.
okay.
Mission's always been about using comedy to help awaken people, but when we start realizing, oh, this pandemic nothing to do with a virus,
Yeah,
it's one of the layers of it is all about eroding human freedoms. So
yeah,
when I start to realize that, the mission of my work just changed. It's like I just learned my first son is on the way at that time,
yeah,
and it just like something woke up inside of me then, just like, I have to make the world a better place for my son. I have to do everything in my power. It might be just my small way, but I have to do everything in my power, not to mention wanting to make the world the best place possible for me, my
yeah,
family, and everybody else that I know and people I don't know. So it became all about freedom. Freedom is my number one value, but I never had a problem with freedom. My freedom has never been taken away, and people I know, like, their freedoms were never taken away.
Last year it got crazy. I mean, we've really, I'm only 32. And even at 32, I've never seen anything like that in my life. You're 41, 42, something like that?
40, yeah, I'm 40.
40. Yeah, it's last year
Yeah.
is insane. All of it. Yeah. And I love how you went to bat with it. I mean, you risked your, like Elliot, Elliot went pro Trump a couple years ago or MAGA. He basically got political and he pissed off a lot of his fans. And agree or disagree, he had the balls to do it. And you're the same way. You have a big audience and a big channel, and YouTube could nuke you whenever they want, but they haven't, thank God. In the meantime, though, you have the courage and the balls to stand up for what you believe in, and I really respect that a lot.
Yeah. Well, thank you, brother. It to me, it's more painful to not stand up for what someone believes in. We can think it's going to be more painful to stand up for what we truly believe in, but that's just bullshit. That's just
Yeah.
kind of like my fictitious thought back before I started comedy. Like, dude, doing comedy would be bad for business. No, it's the fucking best thing ever for my business.
Yeah.
And then same thing when it comes to speaking our truth, standing up for what we know in our heart is right. We can think,
Yeah.
well, that's going to be like really scary, really challenging. It's like, no, motherfucker, it's way more challenging to not do that. I'm
Yeah.
not saying there's no fear involved, but you go through the fear and then it dissolves away and then you get fulfilled standing up for what you truly believe in. So, but yeah, I appreciate your recognition. That's been a big shift. And
Yeah.
I'll share an important little pebble that was cast in the pond before that shift, that really helped fuel me. So about 5-6 months before the pandemic hit and freedom start being taken away, I was just had the honor of being Tony Robbins' guest at his Date with Destiny event in West Palm Beach, Florida. And my wife and I were there, the front row, literally the best seats in the 8,000 person arena. Just so grateful for him extending that invite. But my point being, at that event, I got in touch with a need that I had in order to up level, not just as a man, but as a human. And the biggest need I walked away with knowing is I need to be more bold. So I walked away just like, all right, like, let's call a spade a spade. I've been more beta than I should be. I've been a little bit more oriented towards approval.
Risk averse, stuff like that.
100%. Like, you know, let's be afraid of conflict a little bit. Of course, as a 38-year-old, I was more improved than I was than 25, but still, like, all right, 38, I realized like I've outgrown this shit.
I've done a ton of dumb beta shit too. Like, people don't understand this. Like, you learn from making mistakes and trial and error. That's how I did it. A lot of it.
Yeah, and it's when you find your beta shit, which, by the way, any man watching this, I'd ask you, like, what's the beta shit you're wearing that you're not aware of? I think it's a good question to ask. And when we find it, it's like looking down and saying, oh, I'm still wearing children's underpants. Like, I've outgrown them. They're restricting me. Like, I need to take these off.
Or your zipper's down or something, like something stupid. Like, oh, fix this shit. Like, let's go.
Absolutely. And
zipper up.
100%. And just like Ram Dass once said, you can't get out of a jail until you know you're in one. So what kind of beta jail are we in? And unless someone thinks they're the ultimate well-developed human, by the way, for those people, they're probably full of shit. That's your jail right there. But unless you're truly that human, we can all ask ourselves the question, like, where do I still have some beta energy? Where's my next level to outgrow? So I realized I need to be more bold. And I really committed to that. And then I had no idea life was setting up like, oh, cool. And not just like the training ground to test your boldness, but like the actual battlefield to test your boldness. Didn't know that was coming, but it was.
Dude, I had the same thing last year. I had the same kind of, in my own industry, in my community, this manosphere thing, where my channel is a big thing. I had 21 studios, 300,000 subs, you know, some 1.8 million, but it's pretty big for what it is. A lot of content, right?
Phenomenal.
Yeah. So it's, but last year I started the Make Women Great Again convention. That's what that is. It's called the 22 convention, but the tagline is Make Women Great Again. Elliot was one of our top speakers. His speech was Make Women Wives Again. Mine was Motherhood First, like America First, Motherhood First. So it's kind of, you know, fun stuff, but it was a 3-day event and the media went nuts over it.
Well, I remember watching that clip of the whole media clash. I loved it.
But that was the boldest thing I've done in my life. And I had a lot of pushback from that, from friends, not really family so much, but they went under attack. They were getting doxxed by these feminists and stuff. All kinds of death threats I got. I mean, the media was after me and the speakers, like, it was nasty. And it was right before COVID hit too. So it was January, February, right before the March and everything went nuts. The whole world went crazy. So it was like all the attention was on us. It was like 100 million people it reached. But that was like the biggest, boldest move of my life. And I realized it was a ton of fun. It was stressful, like, you know, the intensity of it at peak woke mob. But I loved it. And I was like, this is what I need to do, right? Like, you know, all the media and stuff, that's going to fit, you know, that'll fade eventually, 15 minutes of fame. But this is definitely like what I really believe in, what I want to do, even though it's tongue in cheek and really funny. I mean, that's part of, people don't even know if it was real or not. The #1 Google term for it was like, is 22 convention real? Because they couldn't believe it was a real thing. Kind of like you would do, right? For something like, is this guy for real or what the fuck?
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, first off, amen. It takes a lot of boldness to do that. And I love that. Congratulations. And I'm curious, just in your internal life or maybe external, what do you think pushed you over the edge of like breaking the previous membrane so that you could enter that more expansive expression of your boldness?
Yeah. I would say there were some business fights I had in 2019. So we had a 3-way company, as you can imagine, a newer company that I've run my current business for like 15 years, but there was a newer company. Like most partnerships, of course, everyone will tell you this, like they blow up eventually, right? So there's kind of a blow up there, a breakup or blow up. I bought one guy out, another guy we ended up kicking out of the company, an attorney and stuff. Anyway, that was 2019. That was like a very tumultuous, whatever that word is, turmoil-filled year. And we did 3 events too, which is unusual for us. We usually do 1 or 2, and I did 3 in 2019. We did one for fathers. We did one in Poland, which is a European event, and then one in Florida. So it was a super busy year producing a shit ton of content at these events. Elliot came out for the first time to our events in the spring for the Fatherhood event. So it was like a very big new year with a lot of stuff going on in public and in private with the fights. And I guess I was 31 at that point. So like hitting my 30s, you know, hitting that stage of my life, this new decade, feeling like more of a man, even if it's numerical. And then the fights, there was the most intense fights of my life. People are really trying to hurt the business in like really serious ways. And I had to fight them and win. Yeah. So that preceded the Make Women Great Again thing. And I kind of just had I guess the trauma from that just upped my game to the next level. And then I was like, what's next? Let's do this. And I almost started that event in 2019, but we did the Fatherhood event for the first time. So that was taking priority. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, what comes to my mind is the analogy, like you get in the ring with Mike Tyson, you know, back when he's in his prime, you're sparring with him and it's an intense fight. Probably going to get beat up. You're coming out with some bumps and bruises for sure.
Yes.
But are you going to be a better boxer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that encapsulates everything I just said in like 2 seconds. So yeah, exactly. It was an intense fight that preceded that I basically won, but came out with a lot of bumps and bruises, like a lot. But I felt like more savage from it because I was amped up the whole fucking year, just like ready to fucking, I was rumbling the whole year, but you know, in public and private.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good stuff.
I can relate. When back in early January, I mean, it was maybe a day after the January 6th, like insurrection, like when Nancy Pelosi makes sure the fucking Capitol gets stormed so she can, you know, run her script. There was a really, really intense, focused, woke mob out to campaign, just everything they could do. And it amazed me, like a handful of people would have this much time on their hands. Just exquisitely fascinating. And they, like, there was some fear for sure. And they got a couple sponsors to drop me. They got my book publisher to drop me. And behind doors, I'm talking with, you know, these couple companies, sponsors that drop me. They're like, JP, we love your content, so support you. But unfortunately, these people are making our lives living hell. And it's like, yeah, but I don't like your decision, but I understand. Yeah. So I was worried, but that was a fight. Like it was like I weathered it, and I came out on the other side as like, oh, woke mob, guess what? I just became more of what you don't like because of you.
They fed the monster. They fed the monster. Yeah,
absolutely. Exactly. I'm stronger, and I'm so much more fearless. Like I do have that reality now. Like, oh, like I lived through the threat of all that I have and have accumulated being taken away from me. And like, guess what? It was stressful, and I realized it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Never take away from me what really matters.
Yep.
And when you're working with someone or looking at someone who's got nothing to lose, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
To your agenda, obviously, we like to frame ourselves as the good guys, and I truly believe we are.
Yeah. Well, you're a villain today, and that's the good guy. Everything in clown world is upside down. So the villain's like you're this evil guy that has to be canceled. In reality, you're doing a lot of good in the world.
Yeah.
You're fighting like hell to make the world a better place.
Yeah. Look how evil he is. He only has one gender. He literally hates all other genders.
You're a cisgendered, white, heterosexual, patriarchal male who likes being a father. So you must be destroyed.
And fatherhood is rooted in systemic racism. So fuck all fathers.
Oh, yeah. So you're not a Florida man like me, though. I'm a Florida man, which is like another additional villainous term, right? That's what they on Reddit. It went viral, the Make Women Great Again event, because it was a Florida man. Like Florida man makes Make Women Great Again, which is real. I'm a third generation Floridian. Yeah, it's just convenient. My last name's Johnson too, which is kind of nice. I feel there's one more like kind of a what do they call it? The phallic word. Yeah, penis reference. Yeah, just got luck of the draw.
Florida man Johnson throwing Make Women. It's great.
The last thing I'll add though is like I started my business and my channel in 2006 technically. And it had nothing, it was mostly just pickup artist stuff. It was self-improvement for young men, a little bit of fitness, but mostly like just how to talk to girls, right? And then it evolved over all these years into being for men and then for fathers and then for women. But also during that time, since 2006, 2007, that was the Bush administration. It's like ancient history now, right?
Yeah.
But I've seen the country get super hyper polarized and hyper politicized and all this, and that's really I'm like you maybe I'm just tired of watching my country fall apart, right? On every level. It's not just politics. It's like culture and masculinity and femininity and family and all these things. And I'm sick and fucking tired of it. And we don't focus much on politics, but it's really, we'd focus hard on masculinity and for women, femininity, common sense masculinity, common sense femininity, right? Family stuff, a lot of times at the fatherhood event.
Yeah.
So I guess I saw the opportunity to dive more heavily into these areas more aggressively, and someone needed to, right? No one was doing a Make Women Great Again event, but I noticed that when I put this notice out to the world, the news went nuts, and the New York Post and the New York Times, like no one seemed to approve of this, which made it a really good thing. The fake news, they hated it.
So basically, all the outlets that are, dare I say, consistently poisoning and perverting our society with Marxism, their bought and paid for agendas, the New York Times, just all them. It's like, dude, if you have their disapproval, you're doing something really well. I'm a part of the Black Rifle Coffee Company. I just love these guys. Are you aware of them?
A little bit. People are accusing me now. They're like, "Oh, they're Black Rifle Coffee." I'm like, "Wait, what?" And I had to look up what the fuck was going on. I'm like, "Oh my god."
So Black Rifle Coffee, if someone doesn't know, they're a huge coffee company, great coffee, but it started by veterans. And these guys, they're real patriots. They love freedom, and they're fun-loving guys. They're awesome. They've served in the military, put their lives on the line for our freedom. So freedom's pretty damn important to these guys. And that's what their company stands for. And whatever it was, a week or two ago, the New York Times wrote a hit piece on Black Rifle Coffee. And like, surprise, surprise, they're not a woke corporation towing the line of the Marxist narrative that some corporations like to do. So when I saw that, I'm like, dude, what a compliment. The New York Times doesn't approve of who you are, which means who you are is probably great.
Yeah. Those people all just have terrible values, and the organizations are just falling apart.
Yeah.
It's sad, man. When we were kids, it was different a little bit, at least, right? And I think it's just gone off the rails past 10, 15, 20 years, something like that.
Yeah, it seems like it to me. And whoever the powers that be are that are, feeding the CNN, New York Times, like where those agendas come from. And obviously they're very common agendas, the Biden administration agendas. So there's no coincidence. They're all preaching the same shit and like classifying misinformation as the same thing. But whoever's behind it, and by the way, I realize when it comes to nefariousness, people who derive power in those ways, they're more powerful being in the shadows. So we could look at like, dude, no, Biden's the evil guy, or is it Bill Gates? Is it Fauci? It's like, well, those are people in the light. Like
Biden's like barely awake. I mean, it's like, you gotta be kidding me. He's Sleepy Joe for real.
They're doing Weekend at Bernie's with him. He probably died a year and a half ago, for all we know.
Yeah.
So whoever's behind that, like, just to your point, Anthony, the past year and a half, these people have been pushing such a hard, controlling, anti-freedom, pro-communist, Marxist narrative so hard, so fast that to me, they are doing a great job of waking people up. They're coming on so strong, so fast. It's almost like they're playing poker, and it's like, motherfuckers, your cards are facing outward. We see what's in your hand.
I mean, look at how me and you as YouTubers, like yours a lot bigger, but we both have big channels. And you're 10 years ago, I was not making content like this on my channel. A couple years ago, you were not being as aggressive as you are now with these issues. Even, like you said, year and a half ago, you really went into it. Yeah, I mean, we have access to, they haven't banned us yet, so we have access to millions of people. And people are waking the fuck up because they're pissed off and they're sick of it. Yeah, it's sick, man. Check out this comment, by the way. Someone dropped M. Egan. Hey, JP, I lost 2 friends by forwarding your hilarious videos to them. Serious 30-year friendship. Holy shit.
Well, man, I'm in one. Thank you for sharing that. And on one part, sorry for your loss, but also another part, I would suggest anytime you lose a friendship over differing points of view. It was never a friendship in the first place. It was
Yep.
an acquaintanceship. I have one of my dear friends here in Austin, just to share what I think is a real friendship. He voted for Biden. I didn't vote for Biden. I truly think that's the most destructive vote. I don't know if the votes counted, but we were sitting around before the election discussing our votes, and he shared he's voting for Biden. I shared, cool, I'm voting for Trump. It's like, fuck, cool, love you, brother. Like, that's a friendship.
Yeah.
If we lose friendships over any kind of, whether political point of view over what's hypocrisy, what's deviousness, a food religion point of view, it's like, man, it was an agreement-based acquaintanceship, not a friendship based on accepting people for who and how they are.
Yep.
I think.
I completely agree. Yeah, I've lost, unfortunately, what I thought was a friend like that or two over the years. It's pretty rare, but every once in a while something like that happens to me too. Yeah. Last year I lost a friend over the BLM stuff. I thought was a friend.
Yeah.
And we've been friends for 15, 16 years. And so half of our lives.
Was the first like, oh, well, you're racist if you don't support the BLM organization? Curious.
It never got to that level. It just completely, like, he saw what I was posting. He texted me about it. I could tell he was pissed, and he just stopped responding. And we haven't talked in over a year now. And we used to talk all the time, and we would see each other. And he lives in Florida, so I don't want to get too far into it. It's personal, but it was surprising. And that's only the second time in my adult life I've seen something like that happen. Because I'm pretty open about who I am, and more so as years go by, right? As I get older, more masculine, less beta, let's say more alpha. But I agree with you. It's good when that happens because it shows you it's like, all right, that friendship wasn't as durable or as deep as I thought it was. And I don't care if someone likes BLM. I hate BLM stuff. I think it's Marxist garbage.
Yeah.
But if you're you don't want to be my friend because I post anti-BLM memes on my Twitter, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And to me, a real friend, and I've had conversations like this with some of my friends. They'll see something I post, and they'll say, JP, I saw you posted this. I'm curious, why do you think that? And, with a friend, it's like, cool, I have time for dialogue with a friend, not 1,000 YouTube comments. And I love that. They get to hear my point of view, and I get to understand better their opposing point of view. And sometimes one of us changes a little bit, and other times it's like, all right, cool. Like, that's what you think, and I'm glad to know it. And here's what I think. Thank you for respecting that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, let's just get on the soapbox, Anthony, and pretend like we're going to solve the world's problems.
Okay.
I think one of the world's problems is the proverbial we somehow expects everybody to unite into a common point of view. And I think that's absolutely fantasy land. Like the left would be like, it's all need to, like, again, tear down the American flag, just fly your pride flag and just do all this.
No, what does the left say now? They want to reconcile, or they want to, like, forcibly, like, what is the word they use? They want to, like, what I'm talking about? They want to, like, amend, or, like, Biden's using it for a while. I can't think of the word right now. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
Fuck. I'll think of it in a minute. But it's been a meme because it's so ridiculous. Like, they talk about, they want to, the left wants to, like, fight and burn stuff down, all this crap. And then I'll think of it in a minute. It's slip of the tongue.
Cool. Yeah. Well, let me know. And my point being, like, or the right is like, dude, no, like, everybody needs to think this way. Like, I think it's so unrealistic to believe that everybody will unite under a common point of view. And by the way, I think that's really crappy. I think we get balanced by having opposing points of view. And I think if we all had one point of view, chances are it's not the right point of view. So we'd be, like, screwed in a really powerful way. But I think the path of world peace isn't when we all unite under a common point of view. I think it's when we accept each other, knowing we have different points of view.
Yeah.
It's like, I think for the most part, all sane people want the same thing. They want happiness and, love for them and their family. But
And they probably want to be left alone a little bit.
yeah, hopefully they're not too far down the communist track.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then how we get there, that's where we can have, it's like we agree on the most important things usually, but how we get there is like when we can really get disagreeing. But yeah, I think having the expectation, like, dude, we're always going to have different points of view, and it's actually okay if we can stop burning down businesses when something happens that we don't like. It'd probably be a good thing.
I thought of the word now, unity. It's not unite, it's not reconcile, it's unity. The left wants unity. That was for months. Biden was talking about this. They're all talking about this. We're gonna have unity now that Biden won. We're gonna have unity. It's this creepy, like, we're gonna have unity. It's like, no, man, I don't want to unite with you. You're fucking weird.
And then it's
just put this mask on, dude. We're gonna have unity. It's like,
we'll divide human connection, teach you human connection's bad to help facilitate unity. And we'll get critical race theory taught in schools so that you can start to judge people based on their skin color rather than the content of their character. Oh, by the way, we're going to implement the Black national anthem, then the regular national anthem before NFL games, because that segregation is how we get unity.
Well, dude, a woman, brother.
Rest my case.
You mentioned the fantasy land, and I agree. It's delusional, the expectations that we have. When you have hundreds of millions of people living in an area, or billions, if you look at, like, continent, or throughout the world, of course you have billions of people with different opinions, and then you're going to stick them in a geographic area and have them vote on something. It's like, not everyone's going to agree, and it's delusional to expect that.
And I think we need to temper the 2-year-old child temper tantrums that come out. And I love to poke fun at the woke left, and the right does it too. It's just like left is kind of burning down buildings, but it's like we need to be adults and respect when other people have opposing points of view, and be like, cool, like, I'm going to stand in my sovereignty and view, and I'll love and respect you as my neighbor, even if you paint your house a different color than what I want.
I feel like, is it just me, or I feel like all the adults in America just, like, left over the past 20 years? Like, they're just all gone. Politics is an obvious one, but it's not just that. Celebrities, like, even celebrities used to be more respectable and, like, keep quiet about stuff, almost like a Keanu Reeves type. That's like really rare today. He keeps his opinions private about stuff. Denzel Washington.
I think you're right, and I wouldn't be surprised if social media is a part of that, where 20 years ago, a celebrity didn't have the chance to get on there and be a moron trying to virtue signal to, like, stay in good standing with China, who's funding their fucking movie, or just to get virtue signaling points. Like, hey guys, I just want you to know I'm non-binary.
We got a question, by the way, from YouTuber Richard Grannon. He's a psychology guy. He's got about 300,000 followers. Awesome guy. He's one of our speakers too. Good man. So, question for both of you: do you think there's a spiritual component to this culture war, JP?
Well, be curious your answer as well, Anthony. I do. I very much do. I think Luke Skywalker needs Darth Vader. So I think at a spiritual level, we look at, quite frankly, the evil that's happening in the world. I think evil that's flowing, the culture war. And we could look at that and say, like, dude, what a curse. We're living with this evil, and, and it looks really powerful. You got, really powerful, nefarious people behind it. They've got key people in positions of power and political influence. That's a curse. And from a spiritual perspective, my belief is it's a blessing. Like, what a powerful weight to lift. I think we all have a huge potential for strength within us at all levels, physically, but just as a physical metaphor, your physical strength will not be expressed as greatly if you don't lift heavy weights. But when you lift heavy weights, that gives your body a reason to express strength and develop strength that you never knew before. It's in your potential field. So at a spiritual level, I think our for us to realize our Jedi-ness, our true nature, our connection to truth and willingness to serve it, we need the Darth Vader that's coming out in the culture wars. So like at one level, I can sit here and say like, I'm grateful for it. And at a different level, I'll not be grateful for it simultaneously, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we live in interesting.
Anthony, I'm curious.
Yeah, sure. I was gonna say we live in interesting times. I mean, it's an amazing time to be alive, for real. In some ways, it's amazing, right? All the technology and all the travel you can do around the world so easily, never before, right? I mean, I just traveled around the U.S. recently. I was in Utah the other day. I was in Texas, like all over. It's so cheap and easy.
Yeah.
But then also we have all this weird stuff, like we have the trans stuff and hyper radical feminism and Marxism and communism. These are things that the founding fathers even of America didn't have to deal with, right? Or any human beings before them. So in exchange, we have toilet paper, though, cell phones, internet. We have nice things. So yeah, it's a bit of both. It's a blessing and a curse, right, to be alive now.
Yeah.
As far as spiritual component, oh hell yeah! I was recently tweeting my savage tweets on my little Twitter account. It's funny, the company has like a much bigger following, and I have a personal following that kind of stems off of it. So I'm just like even more just unfiltered, let's say. But I was tweeting pretty tame for me. I was just saying that your willpower is your soul power. And I even see you, being who you are and being more expressive and more bold and more authentic over time. That's an example of that. Like you really had to bring out your soul and who you wanted to become and what your potential was over time. And that button behind you is an illustration of that. YouTube might be controlled by communists and whatever the fuck, right? These big tech, big corporate, big gov losers.
Yeah.
But it's still cool that you have this following, shadow banned, throttled, whatever the fuck. And that's an illustration of that. And I'm sure it's not the motivation of what you do. You're not like, I want more subscribers today. You want to be you and build all this awesome stuff. That's what I do. I love building things, building conventions, videos, working with speakers like you and Elliot Hulse to make even more videos, right? And get what's in your soul and your mind out to the world and your heart. So yeah, there is a big spiritual component to the war, 100%.
Absolutely. And I think something you and I absolutely have in common when we're doing our work, whether I'm building videos, building stand-up comedy routines or on stage, or you're building events, you're putting speakers together, doing this show, we are both serving a truth greater than ourselves. We're contributing to what our hearts 100% believe and are connected to is a mission greater than ourselves. And I think that is one of the most spiritual things we could ever do. And I think the old paradigm of spirituality is like, we'll sit under a tree and meditate.
Yeah.
I think the new paradigm of spirituality is, hey, motherfuckers, practice time is over. The most spiritual thing you can do is get in touch with your fucking purpose and then serve it. And I think that's what we do.
Yeah, man, 100%. Fuck yeah. I love it, man. You remind me of Elliot a lot. Like when I first met Elliot, I really didn't know what to make of him. He's into so much weird stuff over the years, right?
Yes.
I just seen him on YouTube. But when I met him, we went fishing, actually shark fishing out in Cocoa Beach on the east coast of Florida. And he was just so fucking like eye contact, like just having conversations, just fishing and shit. Just super fucking savage, authentic. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like I'd never seen anyone that intense in my life. I'm like, this is fucking great. This guy's just like fucking bulldozer of truth, just fucking going.
He's intense in a fucking great way. I love Elliot.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's awesome. It's refreshing to be around,
It is.
So we're running out of time. We got about 13, 14 minutes left, something like that. I do want to ask you a few more specific questions here. So number one, have you been inspired by any comedians in particular? Personally, I'm a fan of George Carlin, old school Bill Burr. Do you have any favorites that inspired you for how you your skill set today to be a comedian?
Yeah, well, old school, my biggest inspiration is a guy named Bill Hicks. Have you heard of him?
I've heard of him, I think. I've probably seen him a little bit.
So he was a George Carlin-esque. He died in 1993. Hilarious comedian. He was on Letterman a bunch of times. But aside from just being funny, Bill Hicks brought a message. A lot of his comedy was about calling out corruption in the world. And, certainly George Carlin did that so well. I got into Bill Hicks before George Carlin. That's why I bring Bill up before George Carlin. So Bill Hicks he was the first one I saw doing comedy for a purpose greater than just making people laugh.
Okay.
And I love that. It really inspired me. It planted seeds. I mean, this is back in probably 2004, 2005. I saw him long before I was doing comedy, or when I first saw his DVDs, but it planted a seed. And nothing wrong with just making people laugh for that. The world needs more laughter, but the deeper mission is just amazing. And then, nowadays I love Dave Chappelle. At times he can get a little woke and it's like, fucking Dave, I love you anyway. And at other times he's fucking anti-woke, which is like, dude, the guy's so like, I love it. I love his perspectives, but he is, first off, like he's probably the person in the cultural zeitgeist who is the least cancelable. Like he was the first one doing jokes about the BS around identity politics. Like even back a few years ago, I was literally telling friends like, no, I won't make jokes about that. Like that's, we're there yet. It's going to be a few years. And now I do. But Dave was leading the way. So I think he's not a comedian anymore. He's a philosopher who does comedy. And I say that as like, dude, that's a great thing. That's an up level beyond just being a comedian. So
dude, Dave Chappelle, his show, The Chappelle Show that's actually a huge inspiration for how I make the hats that I make and the memes and stuff. We make a lot of memes and shit. And people wonder where I get the ideas from. I'm like old school Dave Chappelle. Yeah. Specifically the show though. I've seen a little bit of stand up, but the show was fucking amazing growing up. I loved it.
Best comedy sketch show, maybe best comedy show period of all time.
Agreed. Yeah. Genius, man. Genius. Yeah. Okay, so Bill Hicks and Dave Chappelle. I'm a big fan. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Chappelle, and I'll look into Bill Hicks. I know I've seen the name like 1,000 times probably.
Yeah, I think he's got a few of his specials on Netflix. And again, I highly recommend everybody check out Bill Hicks. And just a reminder, he died in 93. So a lot of his comedy that you'll be watching is either from the very early 90s or late 80s. So just political references. When he's talking about George Bush, he's talking about George Bush Sr. That kind of era.
So next question, what philosophers have influenced you? Like you obviously have a lot more to you than just comedy. Like you're made it really well as an entrepreneur. You become a husband and father now. Like what thinkers throughout your life have influenced you?
Yeah, man. Have you ever gotten into Carl Jung's work?
Yeah, recently, over the past year and a half, I'd say. Not too deep, but it's been of interest to me.
Yeah. So a bit of his work has influenced me, and I will just a footnote on that. If anybody gives a shit about the footnote, I don't like to read Jung's work directly. His writing style from like the early 1900s is so academic. It's like trying to digest a brick in order to get mineral nutrients. So like, no.
Okay.
So I love to read other authors' versions of Carl Jung's work. So there's a Jungian psychologist named James Hollis.
Okay.
My favorite author. He's a beautiful writer, yet brilliant thinker, and brings his own thinking to the table. He's not just trying to academically regurgitate Jung, but he's a Jungian psychologist. So, I love his stuff. And then, honestly, some of the classics like Eckhart Tolle. The power of being present is so powerful, not as an end game, but just like as one of our stages of development. So yeah, I love him. If we can call him a philosopher.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for sure. Next question I want to ask you. You mentioned that you became, a father not too long ago. You have a son, 1 year old or something like that?
Well, yeah, Wilder. He's 7 months old.
Okay. Wow. I'm really happy for you, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yep. Honestly, best thing I've ever experienced. And I've experienced some great shit. Yeah. Being a father, it blows it all out of the water. I love it.
So my question is, how has becoming a father and husband changed you as a man and as an entrepreneur? How has it influenced you?
Yeah, incredibly and powerfully positive. It's made me more of who I am. It's made me bigger, faster, stronger. If I could say that. As an entrepreneur, it's like it's like having a reason, like providing for my family and also modeling for my dad, fulfilling his purpose and serving something greater than himself. I just, I have way more voltage going to that in business and purpose than I did before. And I had a lot of voltage before. So it's just been
Oh yeah.
amped up. And, something about becoming a father for me is it's made me more whole. It's like there's resources in me that were there. They're dormant. They're part of humankind, part of being a man. But we have a lot of resources that don't come online until we need them. And becoming a father has brought resources online that I didn't know were there because like I hadn't lived them. So
Yeah.
having those resources come online, I feel much more of a whole man than I ever have before. And part of that is providing for my family, which then extrapolates into my business. Like the past,
Do you feel more focused?
I feel way more focused. I mean, the past year, my business has just really boomed. And
Nice.
yeah, man. And I don't know if that would have happened without becoming a father. And by the way, old programming, I used to fear becoming a father, kind of thinking like, shit, that'll hurt my business. Like I won't have as much, maybe I won't have as
Damn.
much motivation. Maybe I'll just always want to spend time with my kid and like I won't give a shit about business. No, now I give a shit more about business. And yes, I want to spend time with my kid. I've just got strong boundaries now when I'm working, when
Yeah.
I'm not. And so I can, it's all sacred gardens. They need different gardenerships to it. So yeah, man, it's fueled the fire.
Nice. Yeah, I noticed this right away talking to your assistant once we talked, Vanessa, I think is her name.
Yeah.
And I could just tell the way I just got the vibe, the way you had spoken to me and then she had spoken to me. I was like, this dude is super fucking organized. Which I love. Like I'm nowhere near that myself, but I aspire to be more and more over time. And that has been the course of my life slowly, right? Bit by bit. I started my business at 17 years old. So I like to think I like to think I'm more organized at 32 than 17, obviously, right?
Yeah.
The same way I'm a little bit more masculine, a little bit wiser, more experienced, a little bit more beaten, a little bruised up, over the years of living life, doing wild shit like you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, brother.
So talk to me, a couple of minutes left here. Your official mission, I think, at this point is freedom, free speech, and fun.
Yeah.
If that's correct. Talk to me about. We talked a little bit about freedom earlier in the show. Talk to me about the fun element, because that's I think my favorite part of that, because it's so rare that you see that. And for you, it's obvious with the comedy, but fun is more than just laughing and comedy. Like, was there meaning behind the fun part? Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, man. There's a quote I love by Oscar Wilde, which is, life is too important to be taken seriously. So
I love it.
just imagine a world where someone's serving their purpose. They're bringing great good to the world, and they ain't having any fucking fun doing it. What if that person, just imagine this alternate world now, what if that same person was serving that same purpose, only now they allowed themselves to have fun? Doesn't mean they're having fun 24/7, but just like being a man, you're sensitive at times, you're crying at times, and you're fucking bold and fierce at times. So what if fun becomes a place where you can go to? And what if you find out when you're having fun, you actually become more effective at your purpose?
Yeah.
It's like, we've all played sports, whether it's like little league or whatever. And so whatever level of sport you got to, you just imagine that kid who didn't have fun during the games. And maybe he was crying after the game if your team lost. I was never that kid. I was competitive. I was usually one of the best athletes on the team. But what counted for me was having fun. Did we win or lose? Like, I guarantee I tried my best and I put in fucking effort, and I guarantee I had fun. So I don't really care if we won or lost. So what if we brought that to our purpose? Now, I don't know that everybody's purpose would be helped if they have fun. I think a lot would. Probably not everybody, but I know mine is helped when I have fun. And I
Mm.
think part of my purpose is helping spread the vibe of fun. I think seriousness is a fear-based psychological posture. So funny, when we're serious about something, we're serious because we want to be more effective. But if we're coming from a more fear-based mindset, we ain't going to be more effective. And I think seriousness is just a way, it's a way we deceive ourselves into not admitting we're afraid. So when we're serious about something, if we can admit, like, I have some fear around this.
Yeah.
What is the fear? Get in touch with the fear. Maybe you'll still be serious, but you'll be less controlled by the fear. So for me, that's one of the reasons why it's important to be a conscious purveyor of fun. I think it is an expansive energy. I think it's a loving energy, not a serious fear-based energy.
I love it, man. Very well articulated. Followed along. Yeah, this is some real psychology stuff you're dropping here, man. This is good. And
Well,
it's real.
I'm just reading off the script you sent me, Anthony.
Yeah. You know, it comes to mind. I saw it in your mission, and it reminded me a lot of Trump, because Trump is one of the only politicians, perhaps the only politician I've ever seen, including when he was in office. He would talk about fun. He'd be something serious would be going on, and then he'd go out on the White House lawn. He'd be like, "We're having a lot of fun here today," and I'm like, "Holy!" Like, it made me realize, like you, that he actually valued in his hierarchy of values, fun is very high up the list.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've analyzed that him as well, but I heard this. He'd say this multiple times. I'm like, this dude has the launch codes of the nukes, and he's like, "We're having fun." And fuck your stupid nuke button doesn't work, and mine's bigger and better, and you're a loser. I'm like, this dude is legitimately having fun. I think it's making him more effective.
I think you're right. And you look at, not to throw Biden under the bus, but I think he represents the opposite polarity. Like, obviously, cognitive decline acknowledged. You don't see him exuding fun ever. Even if you look at videos when he was with it, like back when he was a senator, it wasn't him fun. So now you watch him try to read off a teleprompter, and he's using fear-based tactics. So, like, first off, what the fuck is fun about that? But that's not a charismatic energy. But then you bring up Trump. Like, I was watching Trump's first rally back. What was it? I think it was in Ohio a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And he's outside, full field, and he had those kind of clear teleprompters politicians use.
Yep.
They start blowing the wind. He just has fun with it. He's like, whoever set these teleprompters up is an idiot. And like, good. I don't like using teleprompters. It's too easy with them. It's more fun without them.
Yep. Yeah, and then he can riff off the cuff and be even more authentic and more ad-libbed, I guess. Yeah. He's amazing at that stuff, man. I saw him in Texas at the CPAC like a couple weeks ago, and same thing.
Oh,
I mean, he had the teleprompters, but you can tell when he goes off the teleprompter, he starts just talking. And that's the best part. That's when he's just like, I'm going to be fucking me.
Agreed.
And like, with Secret Service everywhere. And I was a president like a few months ago.
That's absolutely.
Anyway, man, I know you got to bounce on me. So last question. It's a very serious question. What's it like being a dude with long hair? I've never asked any man this with long hair, so I'd like to know. Yeah. Plus, you're a redhead, too. I mean, damn, dude, that's rough, bro.
A lot of adversity in that. Being a man with long hair, it's Spider-Man's uncle once said, with great power comes great responsibility. So I think his uncle was fucking wrong. There's no responsibility with it. But, for me, actually, it is fun. It is fun. I grew my hair out, started growing it out 10 years ago. And man, this feels like a psychology session. I don't think I've ever said this out loud. Before, my hair was really short, kept neat and controlled. And, I was teaching for this health institute, life coaching stuff. And let's be serious so that people will give me credit or whatever. And then it was, a couple years before I started doing the comedy videos. So I'm knocking at the door of that. And I'm just like, damn, I want to grow my hair out. Now looking back, I can realize this is my hair is a symbolic representation of fun. The short hair was a symbolic representation of seriousness.
Being
So
a tight ass.
yeah, exactly. So I think
Yeah.
seeing my hair and feeling it every day long, that was a symbolic educational reminder to have more fun, be less
It's kind
serious.
of like I kind of get some Goku vibes too, some Super Saiyan vibes. Like your hair gets longer, you get more badass. I don't know if you're
Uh,
familiar with that show. But,
we're not allowed to talk about that, Anthony.
okay, okay.
We've been classified.
Yep. Well, hey man, I really appreciate your time today. It's been fucking awesome. Everyone, make sure you check out awakenwithjp.com. Link in the description. Of course, his channel is also linked in the description as well. He has events coming up. One here, July 28th in Texas. Again in Texas, California after that, and eventually gets done in Florida too. I think in October, Arizona here.
I'll be in Naples and Tampa, amongst other
Nice.
maybe Florida locations. But I love Florida.
Yeah, dude, I'm from Fort Myers, so Naples was our high school rival, and they kicked our ass usually, but we beat the shit out of them my senior year. Like murdered them in football. It was awesome. Yeah.
Hopefully, they're still scarred by it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, hey man, appreciate your time today. I appreciate you everything that you do, kicking ass, man. Maybe I'll have you back on the show sometime. If not, keep killing it with everything you do, man. The events and the channel and all of it.
Thank you so much, Anthony. I appreciate that, and thank you for having me on, and thank you for doing what you're doing in the world, and everybody in the movement that you're a part of. Thank you guys for caring enough about life and contributing to a greater world to work on yourselves and influence the world around you. So such a pleasure to rap with y'all today.
100%, man. I like the world that we live in. You know, I want to make it better. We live here. It's our home. So let's fucking do it. All right, JP. Thanks, man. Everyone else, thanks for tuning in today. Special episode on a Tuesday of the Redman Group. I'll see you probably on the Saturday, 11 a.m. Redman Group. Otherwise, tune in to the channel anyway and check out JP Sears, man. awakenwithjp.com. Peace out. See you guys next time.